Gospel. This morning's Gospel reading comes to us from Mark chapter 10, verses 2 through 16. Jesus teaches about marriage and divorce, and later Jesus blesses the children. And Pharisees came up, and in order to test Jesus asked, "Is it lawful for a husband to divorce his wife?" He answered them, "What did Moses command you?" And they said, "Moses allowed a husband to write a certificate of divorce and to put her away." But Jesus said to them, "For your hardness of heart, Moses wrote you this commandment. But from the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let no one put asunder." And in the house of the disciples asked again about this matter. And Jesus said to them, "Whoever divorces his wife and marries another commits adultery against her. And if she divorces her husband and marries another, she commits adultery." And they were bringing children to Jesus, that he might touch them, and the disciples rebuked them. And when Jesus saw it, he was indignant, and said to them, "Let the children come to me. Do not hinder them, for to such belongs the realm of God. Truly I say to you, whoever does not receive the realm of God like a child shall not enter it." And Jesus took the children in his arms and blessed them, laying his hands upon them. May God add understanding to the reading of this holy gospel. May it be you. God, I ask that you anoint my heart and anoint my lips. Let me find your words that you wish me to speak, not my own. And anoint the ear of those who would hear, that what they hear today would be what you have for them on their faith journey. Amen. We had talked a couple of weeks ago when David had mentioned that Isabella wanted to sing with Norma and Debbie, that if they became regular attenders of the church, we might work on children's sermons, have a time for children. Isabella, you're a very precious child. The scriptures tell us that if we accept God in the realm of God, with your eagerness and your brightness, we have a chance. So thank you for teaching us. And as I get ready to delve into this sermon, know that you are precious. No one should ever harm you, ever bully you. And you should never feel like you're not a whole person, because you are just the way you are. Amen. So what's up with this marriage crap I got to preach about? Good Lord. The gospel lesson from Mark this morning can be somewhat lost on us as a particular community. In case you haven't figured that one out yet, we are just a little bit queer, a little odd. Looking at the history of marriage, it was strictly for the purpose of populating the world. Marriage was a form of ownership. The husband owned the wife, and the wife was to be obedient. Only a husband could divorce the wife at that time. After all, how could a woman divorce somebody? She was nothing more than owned property. Divorce was considered a sin, and to remarry was considered living in the state of permanent adultery. In case we haven't figured it out yet, our culture is a little bit different. It has changed. People no longer marry for the main purpose of having large families so as to populate the world. In fact, it's rare to see a large family unit anymore. It is a rare thing for a couple to have 10 or 12 children. When I was growing up, my mother popped out a lot of babies. The neighbor down the street had 13. We were a good Catholic community. Our culture, for the most part, teaches us now that women are not a piece of property owned by the man of the house. Marriage is not something that can be ended only by the male of the couple. We now have in our country, and more countries each week, laws that are now allowing marriage of same-sex couples. So what is up with this marriage thing? The real essence of the passage that Jesus was talking about. Jesus insisted that the loose sexual morality of his day must be mended. Those who sought marriage only for pleasure must be reminded that marriage is also for responsibility. Those who regarded marriage simply as a means of gratifying their physical passions must be reminded that it is also a spiritual unity. When you think about the marriage ceremony, that too has changed. There used to be a time when there were certain laws and rules that you had to follow before a marriage was considered legal. In fact, it still is in the state of Arkansas. In the state of Arkansas, before you can actually sign the marriage license, you must ask the couple, into such a relationship do you wish to enter? And their answer must be, I do, not I will, not maybe yes someday, but I do. It used to be in the marriage ceremony that the minister would ask the woman, are you willing to be faithful, respectful, honor, and be obedient to your husband? I have to tell you that as a minister, if anybody came to me and wanted the word obedient put into their wedding ceremony, I would have to laugh you out of the church and tell you I won't participate. Marriage has changed, but the essence of the message of Jesus that day is also needed today. I'm straying a little bit because I really don't like this scripture. In today's society, you don't need to get married to have ownership over people. Anyone who is of a lower socioeconomic class, privileged people feel they have ownership over them. Privileged people feel like they can abuse them and rape them and slap them around, call them bad names. That is not true. That is not true. The Brett Kavanaughs of the world do not own women, and women are not subjected to the cruelty and the hatred of those kind of teachings. The women, such as Dr. Christine Ford, to stand up and tell her truth and let her light shine is a great testimony and a great witness to what the salvation of Jesus Christ is all about. It's a great testimony to the truth that women and even men are not owned by those who think they have power over them. For the only one who will have power over any being is the power that we should submit to in the power of Jesus Christ. Sometimes when you get married, it doesn't work out. I know you're not going to believe this, but the minister is going to say this. And that's okay. You might find out 10, 15 years later that that person you married is still barfing after he drinks in the car, is still going around slapping women around, is still going around saying that they have the right to ownership of other people. And if you want out of it, you can find mutual respect and respect for yourself and walking away from it, then pick up yourself and walk away from it and go with dignity and with pride. Never submit to that kind of ownership. Does not make it a bad or indecent thing. It does mean that through the pain and the agony of a separation is a form of mutual respect and self-healing. And these are good things, not bad things. In the midst of Jesus having this serious discussion at the time, it was the type of discussion that Jesus would have had with the older, wiser, more mature members of the community. Something else was happening, though. And they were bringing children to Jesus that he might touch them. And the disciples rebuked him. But when Jesus saw it, he was indignant and said to them, "Let the children come to me. Do not hinder them. For to such things belong to the realm of God. Truly I say to you, whoever does not receive the realm of God like a child shall not enter it." And Jesus took the children in his arms and blessed them and laid his hands upon them. I think sometimes that we forget in all the facts of life, we must include children. Children of all ages. If we as adults are doing things that we believe are Christ-like or Christ-centered, we must not leave the children out of the mix. If we are in a loving relationship, show that love to the children. If we are struggling with a relationship, let the children know so that they understand what is going on, so that they will be better equipped to deal with difficulties in their own lives. If you happen to be single and wonder why would we spend so much time talking about these things in the church, take heart. We may at times be single and alone on our daily walk. However, we are never walking without a divine relationship. You are in the same relationship and the same type of relationship with your community, with your church, with your friends, and most importantly, with yourself. That's marriage. That's just as equal and just as valid. When you decide to join a church and you stand up and you profess, "I want to be a member of this congregation, I will pledge my support to you," that's a marriage bond. It's no different. You may not want the whole church going out to dinner with you on your anniversary, but it's no different. Yes, marriage has changed as we as society have changed and evolved. Let us not fear that. Instead, let us celebrate that. Nothing is easier than to stand and repeat words of honor, respect, and worth. Yet there is nothing harder than trying to live those things each and every day that shall come. When we share love with one another, it makes our burdens lighter because we have shared. And it makes joys more abundant because we also share and delight with each other in those as well. I want us all to leave here knowing no one is greater than anyone else. No one. No one at all, Isabella. You are as great and as strong as there is, just as everybody else is. And no one is subject to the ownership of another person. If you own yourself and you own your relationship with Jesus the Christ, then that's all the ownership you need in your life. And you won't be lonely. Because the days that you feel lonely and the days that you feel all alone and abandoned, You can open your eyes and you can look around and say, there's another Christ-like person over there. And it's amazing. God somehow puts those people right where you need them. Right when you need them. So do not be afraid. Lord, I ask that we live our life in the holy moment of relationship with our God and with ourselves and with all those that you have placed to go with us on our journey. Amen.